Hey guys, welcome to Revamp, the podcast, where we are revamping the way adults do life. I'm your host, Felicia Creighton.
And I'm your co-host, Andrea Creighton. Let's get into today's topic.
All right, so this is something I've talked about for a while. I've been calling you because I'm like, for years really, but here recently I've been amping it up. But I am a big believer in why do you do what you do? It started when I started with holistic nutrition and I started to get into that. And it was like, what is your why for why? Because I realized I was doing a bunch of yo-yo dieting, a bunch of yo-yo this, doing it for a little while and then stopping, doing it for a little and stopping. But the moment you told me, you said, have you ever regarded God in that? And I was like, this is weird. Fitness and health. I don't want to regard God in fitness. That's just weird. I don't have him in that category. And you're like, just try it. And so I remember he gave me the scripture, the foundational scripture for my business. And so I remember thinking, what is your why, Valicia? And the moment I got a why, I was able to stand on something. And I never went back to yo-yo dieting again. I was able to stand, and I've been standing for the last 4.5 years. So I kind of want to dig deep into some things that are circulating in the now. What is your why for doing what you do? But one of the biggest topics, and this is controversial, if you will, right? Why do we dress the way we do? I think that is such a big thing right now on social media with, men ragging on women, women ragging on men for having braids in their hair and earrings in their nose, and women with their booty shorts on and crop tops. And
I heard somebody the other day say, these are my blush shorts.
I
love that.
And just all type of back out and your arms out and you're living, right? And I was a part of that for so many years. I don't even want to tell you. I wish we could do like a little insert picture here of a before and after,
Yeah,
but
we shouldn't. I tell you,
but seriously, I was caught in that cycle of what society deemed as sexy and what's cute or what's,
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people really touch on for this is I feel like I'm my best self. Like I'm liberated, I'm free. And I think that they're really trapped in that. Like, this is me being me.
Yeah.
So how do you tell the difference?
We use words like confident. Like I feel my most confident self when I am in the least amount of clothing. And I'm saying this because I've been on both sides of this. So this is not somebody coming in that used to wear cloaks all day or things up to my neck. This is somebody coming on with the least amount of clothes. I'll tell you this. One of the weirdest instances, I remember mom and dad picking me up from the airport one day.
Right.
And I had on, this is insane. I had on cut off jeans, like ripped up jeans, a long trench. Like this was fire in my head. Some Christian lubes on a plane coming into Huntsville, Alabama.
That's embarrassing.
And I had on like a wife beater. Those were like a things with nothing underneath it. Just a white wife beater. And I was on the plane. And I remember coming on the plane like, I'm killing it, And people were staring at me. And I'm like, I must be really looking good. And I remember mom and dad came to get me. And I'm like, hi, guys. And dad said, you wore this on the plane? And I was like, yeah, because in LA, I remember showing some of my girlfriends like, yeah, this is the outfit I'm going to wear.
Fire.
And they were like, flames. Like this is, or whatever word we were using in 2012. But it was like, you look fire, So I'm like, yeah. But I didn't even realize it's like, why are you dressing that way?
Yeah. Do we take the moment to think about why do we do what we do?
Yeah. And I realize now in my older age, but I also realized it was stemming from a value issue. And I had to get behind what was the motive. And when I was in high school, I remember moving out to Los Angeles, and that's what everybody was doing. This is how you hooked a man. This is how you got a man. This is how you got someone to pay attention to you. You had to have on the least. When we went out to the clubs, it was you had to have on the least amount of clothing to get in, the most amount of cleavage. And, we didn't have anything fake at the time, me and my girlfriend, but it was like, so you have to show the most skin, have the longest hair. I was clipping in extensions from Sally's. I looked insane. Lashes out to here, just a mess because I was taking on so many different identities. It seems that this is working right this year, this is working this year. And I had to sit down with myself and say, why do I feel comfortable exposing my body to get things like that when I'm struggling with where is my value coming from. So, or where do I seek validation outside of men? This is what we did. This is our whole lives were wrapped around that. So it's just asking the question, why do you do it? And I couldn't stand on anything. Like there was no foundation for it outside of this is how you get men. And then I realized, well, that's silly. Like what is driving me to do that? Have you ever had an instance where it was like, why am I wearing this?
Yeah, I remember one time I came home with a red wig. I knew that was going to get you.
With the braids, the Harriet braids.
I had a red wig on and I remember you leaned across the table, you said, do you feel comfortable?
Wait, but what
the way you look?
The time we went down to your college.
Yeah, for some reason I was in a wig, and it was specifically synthetic wigs.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
It was a season of wigs for you. And I remember you hanging over the balcony, just living your life. And that wig fell off. And I didn't know at that time, you had to realize I was 16, so I didn't know wigs were controlled by braids underneath. I just didn't know. And I said, she's got these Harriet Tubman braids underneath. And I remember it falling off and I go, oh my God, because we didn't leave like that.
But again, I will say this. If you don't determine your why, you allow everyone else and everything else around you to determine it for you.
Yeah.
And so if we look at Romans chapter 12, it says, don't be conformed to this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll read through that and it's just, this is about renewing your mind with the word. Here, listen to the principles of that scripture.
Yeah.
It's saying, if you're not intentional with deciding what you're going to think, what you're going to believe, you're going to automatically be conformed to what's going on around you.
That's right.
And so when you ask that question, why do we do what we do? Most people don't know because they're not being intentional about what they believe, why they believe what they believe.
Yeah.
And so therefore you just automatically just conform to who's around you, what's going on around you, what the world is yelling at you from a societal norm situation. And so people can't even tell you why they got what they got.
Yeah.
Why they did what they did.
Yeah.
What decision, why they made the decision that they made. And they just kind of resort to anger.
Yeah.
Oh, I did it this way. No. Take a chill pill, relax, and really think through. I used to always say this, dig deep.
Dig deep, yes.
Why do you do what you do?
That's right.
And it brings so much clarity in your life.
And the reason we don't want to dig deep, I know for me specifically, is because I already knew the answer. And I just didn't want to say it out loud. I'm like, I don't want to dig too deep because it's like, I already know why I'm doing this. And that part alone was embarrassing. So I remember thinking like, specifically in the area of dress, what do you think? And I know you even when you crossed over, if you will, and it was just like, even like the religious sector, if you will, and the hats. And remember you were doing that for a while. And the pleats,
like the church hats.
The church hats and stuff like that. But it's like, why are we doing what we do? Is it that somebody's telling us that we should be doing this? Or
no, I think it was, in that particular place, it was, I thought this was what other people liked.
Yeah.
And this is what would make them happy. So it's just like, okay, let me conform to this instead of me really tapping into my most authentic self. And it's just like, my most authentic self is this. This is my aesthetic when I show up as me.
Yeah.
I typically go from homeless looking.
Right now, currently. Okay.
Right?
All right.
Those are my two extremes.
Yeah.
Homeless to, more of a minimalistic, dark neutrals aesthetic. And that is me and my most authentic self.
Yeah.
And I love it because that means every room I walk in, I'm comfortable being me.
Yeah.
But I figured out what my why is. I don't have to. So when people, how when you're getting ready, and then everybody starts asking, what are you wearing to so-and-so?
Yeah.
I never have to ask anybody that because I plan on coming in exactly what I want to wear.
Yeah.
Because I recognize what my why is.
Yeah. What do you think? So what is your why? Is it just that you want to be the most authentic version of yourself? Like what is your reasoning for not wanting to wear your revealing your body? What is your reasoning behind that?
Well, because my why has always been what message do I want to translate? Every room that I step in, you're giving a message whether you talk or whether you don't talk.
Yeah.
And so everybody I may not be able to physically talk to. So even with my appearance, it's a coined phrase. dress how you want to be addressed.
Yeah.
That's a bigger why for me.
Yeah.
So I want to be addressed in a certain way when I'm showing up for business, when I'm showing up for ministry, when I'm showing up for friends or family or to meet new people. I want to be addressed a certain way. That's another why. I also want it to be clear who I'm representing.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just a bigger why. So I don't have to sit there and say, what do you think? Is this too much? Is this not enough? I don't have to do that because those whys are big enough for me as I'm deciding whatever I show up in.
Yeah, that's good. I think for me, specifically in the area of dress, I got to a point where I started to get irritated with looks and stares. And it wasn't just coming from men. It was coming from women. It was coming from all type, So I'm like, I was getting irritated, but it's like, you can't get irritated with something that you're essentially causing. And so it was like, why do you want to do this? Again, this is as I was getting into, 25 and up. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And it came down to, I just wanted attention. So then I had to dig deeper. And I remember Darius asking me, this is my older brother. He asked me, he goes, I'm a gym rat, right? I love to go to the gym. I'm always at the gym. I'm always in a nice pair of leggings. And
I think I know you're
the
going.
biggest trend right now is to wear your leggings, wear an oversized t-shirt for your front part, right? Because if the stomach's a little bloated, we want to cover it up and then tuck in the back shirt.
Tuck in the back, right.
So we're showing and I was saying, and I remember Darius saying, why do you do that? And I was like, and he's very matter of fact, and I was like, yeah, to show off my gains, but show off to who?
To who?
Like, you see him at home?
And these are the same people that if you show off to them and they're looking, it's like, what are you looking at?
It's like, I cannot believe he's looking at me. Like, I would call you with stuff like this. This man was looking at me. It's like, well, your whole bottom's out. And it's like, of course, and the gains are gaining, right? So it's like, yeah, he's looking great job, but you may not always attract the attention you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just got to a place that really stemmed from my abstaining from sex. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to make a promise to my future husband. Like I really held my body together. Like no one else had access to it, whether I give it sexually or just even them just looking visually in whatever it is. I really wanted to keep that intact like this. And so now I even will go and I'll wear longer shirts to cut because I'm just like, I don't even want.
Yeah. What is the purpose?
Yeah.
I think that anytime we don't decide what the purpose is in what we're doing, we're either going to abuse that thing or we're going to lose the benefit of the thing.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, your body is precious.
Yeah.
So why are you revealing it to people that do not have access to it? So that's just one area. That's dress.
Yeah.
But we can talk about what is your why in everything.
Yeah.
Where I feel like the same thing with food, your diet.
Yeah.
Diet and exercise. It's the same thing. Yeah. What is your why? When we understand the purpose of food and drinking is primarily for energy, then I won't sit on a couch and eat donuts and soda and chips. I won't do that because I'm about to lose the benefit of fueling my body for energy.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what is your why? And I think we have to talk about that in so many different areas.
And then specifically in the food arena, transitioning energy for what? And that's why it goes back to what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life? Because again, if you have no purpose, if you have no vision for your season,
it doesn't matter.
Then it doesn't matter. I can sit on the couch and eat bonbons all day because it's like I don't have a purpose for this vessel of mine. I'm not taking care of it. It's 1 Corinthians 6:19-20. And it's like our body, this is what really, again, my foundational scripture for my business, but this is what really drove the point home. My body doesn't belong to me.
Right.
So that is my why when people ask, why don't you dress? Why don't you behave this way? Why don't you eat this way? Because my body does not belong. It was purchased with a very high price.
Yeah.
And he purchased and he laid his life down for this vessel to be in use here on this earth. And so that is my foundation of why I don't do what I do. But you have to have a why behind, or you will fall privy to whatever society is telling you works for this season.
Yeah, and you'll find yourself in a very unstable situation. So most people that I see that are very unstable, they don't have whys for the different areas of their life. They don't have big enough whys.
Yeah.
Right? So any excuse, if you don't have a big enough why, any excuse will do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to be justified in anything you say. Well, you guys have to understand this.
Yeah.
I've been going through this. I've dealt with this. And you got to understand my past. No. What you're really articulating is you don't have a big enough why.
Yeah.
I know I struggle with that a lot. I would come to you and you say, well, why are you doing that? Well, it's no. I'm asking you, why are you doing this? Because you are basically letting me know you don't have a big enough why.
That's right.
And so it's not going to create a space of stability for you in this season.
And I think we talked about a little bit in the episode we did with identity crisis, but I think knowing who you are plays a huge role in this. Like when you really come to the belief of who you are and whose you are. This is my Father. You start to look at yourself as precious, precious cargo, as they call it. And so I now carry myself as such. I want to dress as such. We say we're a king's kid. What does that mean? What does that look like? Would a king's kid be revealing himself? Same for men. Say, would a king's kid be behaving this way, speaking this language out and about? You know, why are we cussing so much? Is it that we just don't have words to fill in? Are we limited in our vocabulary? I had to ask myself that question. A lot of it, when I used to cuss a lot, was it was more jovial. I thought it was hilarious, like to add that in, just because for years when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to. Obviously, we grew up in a Christian household. Our parents are pastors, so it's like it wasn't condoned in the home. And so as soon as I left, I'm like, flippity flip, because I'm like, we can do it. And it was like, ooh, it was rap. But then I thought, it's giving limited vocabulary, Valicia. Like, why is it now that, because it became to a place where it's like, I don't have anything else to say. It's it's a filler word, like a word. So I was like, I need to get to a place where I have more words to use in place of cussing. I mean, did you ever struggle with that when you were?
Not in the area of cursing, but I will say this, and I know we talked about it on another episode. You were like, Andrea, one thing that you struggle with is allowing things to build up, and then you just kind of lash out, and everybody's looking like, what happened? And so I think even when we start talking about, when we're talking about why you do what you do, I think we have to visit past experiences, trauma, fear. We have to do that. Rejection. I think I did an episode on deliverance from past rejection, right? Or the spirit of rejection. Because what happens is you have all of these unhealed places that you are operating out of, and everybody else is getting wounded from. And they're like, what is wrong with you? Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? No, it's just these are areas that are left unwounded, and I can't find a solution to it. And so what I was doing was constantly leaping out of those things once I got tired or fed up or backed in a corner. And people are like, where is this coming from? And so I had to dig deep and say, why? Because here it is. You're bleeding on people that did not cut you.
That's true.
Whenever you refuse to deal with the trauma, the fears, the unmet expectations, the past experiences that have marked you, when you don't, and what I mean by dealing with them, because a lot of people are just like, well, I'll figure out a way. I try to drink it away. I may try to sex it away. I may try to, I don't know, eat it away. Smoke it away. Whatever the case may be. This is what I believe is one of the beautiful things about God, because a lot of people, they want to bring the good to their relationship with Christ and say like, God, this is everything I've done for you, and I lay it before you. I've sacrificed this. I want to lay this before you. Guys, he wants that as well. And he sees it as precious, that you believe that I am such a good father and a great provider, that you would give me your trauma, you would give me your fear, you would give me your past experiences and lay them at my feet so that I can deal with them, and then I could literally just begin to heal your wounds, walk with you. I want to take your ashes and make them beautiful.
Oh, that's good.
And that's what I want to say, like, why do you do what you do? Because I'm hurt. Because I'm angry, because I'm disappointed, because I'm rejected. And I had to get, I hate to get that heavy, but I had to get down to the nitty gritty of that and then say, God, this is what it is. Most people only come to him and say, oh, you're worthy. I thank you. You're good. He's saying, yeah, but is that really where you are right now? Because you should be able to come before my throne of grace boldly to obtain mercy. You should be able to lay all of that down as well and say, like, I am so angry about this. Like, I'm confused about this, and lay it before him. And he says, great, let me take that and I'll give you something else to replace that with.
That's right. And it leads me into, a lot of people struggle with attitude and mood. And since we're on the subject, I know a lot of yours was just not answering the question of, I don't want to have conflict. Right? You don't want to hit it head on. And I know that's where you would get to this buildup, because it's like, I don't want to handle the issues as they're coming. So as they're coming, I'm eating it. I'm eating it. Well, you believe you are. You're eating it. Until then they ask you something simple like, hey, would you like to take a walk in the park? It's like, no, I'm so ticked off at you. And
I can't believe you would ask me to take a walk in the park.
I just asked you to take a walk in the park. But the issue was 6 months ago when you overstepped a boundary that I had, and I had told you, and you overstepped again in the next 3 months, and then you overstepped. I thought I was eating this, and then here we go. So now I said, hey, would you like to come take a walk in the park with me and my dog and my child? And
I'm sick of it. You always ask me to do things I don't want to do.
And so who's the crazy one?
And these are good conversations
there you
to
go.
have.
The crazy one ends up being the person who's not willing to handle the issues
And
at
then
hand.
here it is.
Yeah.
Here's the when it all comes out, it's like, what is going on with you? It's like, I've always dealt with people that never respected my boundaries, and they kept pushing, and and it's just like, okay, whoa. So this is deeper than me just asking you to go walk in the park.
Yeah.
We're now talking about your past trauma.
There you go.
Like, this has a lot to do with why you do what you do. And we have to discuss that, because if not, we all are really out here being crazy.
And sometimes, really. And sometimes it can be that same individual. So it's because I'm not dealing with the issues with this person. So sometimes it is trauma, and it can be happening from years prior, or it can be happening from several people because you don't know how to speak up for yourself. And not in a negative way, but sometimes how we perceive people to be, I told you this, is how we receive them. So if I've already perceived you to be in a negative light, I've been eating what I've been leaving. I've been eating and eating and eating and eating, and you've been overstepping boundaries, and I've just been letting it go and letting it go. I'm perceiving you in my own head as a certain way, because I'm like, this person is an overstepper of boundaries.
And we get mixed up into this speculative imagination as well. And it's like all of us are just, certified psychics at this point. It's just like, let me tell you this. I know these people. But you can tell me a lot of things, but I know them. And it's just like, it's speculation.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, that is how you perceive them
to be,
And here's the third thing. It's truly because you're dealing with an offended heart.
Yes.
So a lot of people, my heart is good. No, your heart is offended.
Yes.
Anytime you see someone different than what Jesus sees them as, that means you are offended with them.
That's right.
And you got to dig deep, because this is explaining why you do what you do.
Yes.
You're not doing this because, hey, this is just who I am. No, it is a reason. Everything we do comes from what we believe in our heart.
That's right.
Everything we say out of our mouth comes from what we believe in. It says that.
Yeah.
What is that? 2 Corinthians 4:13. It says, I believe, therefore I speak.
Yeah.
So you're not just saying random things. It's coming from, there's a why behind it.
That's right. But I really want to stick to that, because I think that we're in friendships, we're in relationships where we perceive people to be in this negative light, and our perception ends up being reality in a lot of forms. And so it's like, how do we change the perception? And I believe we can change the perception of somebody by having the tough conversations and it may not feel good. Again, for empaths, it's like, I don't want to hurt this person's feeling, or whatever the case. I don't know. What does it feel like to be, because I'm a straight shooter. So the moment I feel like you're overstepping my boundary, it's a hard no for me. And we got to talk about it before my head hits the pillow that night.
Right.
Like, I can't go home with that. So what is it that a person feels in those moments when you know someone is overstepping about, and they're doing it on purpose? What is it that someone like you feels in there, so I can kind of get into their head? What do you feel?
There's an overcompensation of caring for how they feel while neglecting how you feel. And you can only do that for so long until there's a breaking point.
Yeah.
But it's just, I just overly care. Again, that's people pleasing. I overly care what people think and what they feel like and what they're doing. And you feel this responsibility to care for their emotions based off of your response.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to say this, because if I say this, it's this cause and effect kind of thing that's going on in your head. If I do this, or if I say this, this is going to cause them to do this. Well, how do you know? And also, here's part 2 of that question. Why do you care that much?
That's right.
Because you're basically negating or choosing to say, I'm going to take the hit. No one's telling you to do this, but I'm going to take the hit because I just don't want the even the risk of them feeling this way or thinking this way.
So,
or
could we house it under people pleasing?
It's definitely it's approval addiction.
Yeah.
And it's people pleasing, because you are living for the approval of others.
Yeah.
Instead of being most authentic.
Yeah.
And staying true to who you are. Who am I right now?
Yeah.
What do I value? What do I prioritize? What do I deem as important? And guess what? All of my yeses and nos filter out of that. And yes, I have love for people. But if my love for people is making me lose who I am, we're in the danger zone.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. I want to leave people with, know why you do what you do. The biggest thing is, guys, we got to dig deep. We got to dig deep and we got to ask ourselves the questions that unfortunately we probably already know the answers to, but we have to say it out loud, and then we have to know why we do what we do so we can stand on a solid foundation so no one can ever sway you and try to persuade you to get out of why you do what you do. Do you want to leave them with anything else?
Yeah, really piggybacking off of what you're saying. And what you mean by why you do what you do is exploring what are your values, what are your priorities. You're not going to get into the heat of a moment and figure that out.
That's right.
You have to go into environments, go into moments and figure out, I already know what my list of values, priorities are. And then that way, when I go around different people, different environments, I'm not trying to conform to fit in. No, I can stand in who I am when I get there. So I think that's what I want to leave you with. Just explore those values, your motivations, your priorities, and then stay there.
Love it.
I love that.